Radio, Rahim and Lawrence Okolie. We were entertained last night, but not as entertained as we could be. You're here in Saudi. I didn't see you lace up. I didn't see the gloves on. I didn't see you in this big show. Yeah. Would you have liked to have been on this show?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, we were close. You know, when Dan Dubois fell ill, it was between me, I think, and Bakole was the only other person. We got right to we agreed it was all done. We were going to pack our bags. And then we found out that Parker's team decided to go with Bakole, and here we are.
Was there a finance issue? Like, who would take what money? What was the determining factor?
It was just whatever Parker's team said. You know, obviously they get the final decision as they're the ones that are fighting on the show. And then they said that they wanted to go with a different style than mine. Obviously, he's been training for Dan Dubois, so he just thought I'd rather go for the guy who hasn't been training. And instead of me flying for 1 hour, I'll get the guy that's flying for 20 hours. And it made sense for them. I mean, I think they made the right decision, as you saw in the day.
Yeah, watching the fight, we're in there thinking like, oh, what I could have done with this opportunity.
Yeah, no, definitely. You know, I've been waiting for a big heavyweight opportunity for a little while now. But, you know, I just have to just keep kicking the door down, win my fights, and it's going to happen.
You know, Derek Chisora, always has something to say, controversial. And right after the fight, he says, Parker deserves no credit for this win because Bakole was coming off the couch, because he was, flying in and short notice and the weight and all that. Yeah. What do you think?
I think it's tough. He doesn't get as much credit as he would if he had a full camp. He still gets a bit of credit because Bakole could have still caused an upset. So he did what he had to do and win. But let's be frank, the guy was 300-something pounds flying from. As I said, you don't get the full credit, but he got the win and he gets to keep on going.
We know that the heavyweight division here is heavily rewarded. There are a lot of guys at the top. Kabayel having defeated Zhang, I don't think anybody really saw it going the way it did. No. When you saw Zhang take that knee, what were you thinking?
I thought there's no way he's going to get back up because he weighs too much to stand back up. So you kind of knew it was kind of going that way. My thoughts on the fight were Zhang has to kind of hurt him early and get rid of him because we've seen in all of his fights he gets tired, especially as he's getting older. He must be in his 40s now, so it does go like that, being that big, a little bit older. But Kabayel did what he needed to do, and he's been consistent. That one made me more of a believer in like, okay, me and him's going to be a hard fight when it happens. But he's been doing his thing.
After seeing what you saw last night and his incredible string of wins, how is that matchup for you? What do you think your strengths are?
Obviously, being a more agile boxer than him, also being able to punch faster and also hard, so it'll be hard for him to sort of walk me down and close me down because I've got angles, and it'll be more of a boxing fight than him just being able to walk forward and just work away. So yeah.
You mentioned Zhang being 40, and I've had a conversation on TalkSport about when these crop of heavyweights start to age out, which might be in the next year. We might, we've lost Fury for the moment. He may not come back. Yep. We think Joshua might be done in a year, Usyk gone in a year. That whole class leaving. Do you think you have to wait until that class leaves for to get a title shot?
Yes and no. If you put in great performances, you'll get rewarded. So you look at Parker. Parker beat two. He beat Wilder and he beat Zhang. Yeah. And then he was
and Deontay Wilder.
And Deontay Wilder, Zhang, right? And them two in particular, right? Yeah. Right. And then what happens with that is now you get the Dan Dubois fight. Dan Dubois is a world champion. So you've got, I think if you put in good performances, you get rewarded with opportunity. So and even if you look at Dan boxed Hrgovic and Big Baby Miller, and then he got the world title shot. Do you know what I mean? So I think if I have, like, say for example myself, if I have two big wins in a row, you get a world title shot. But ultimately, you just have to wait, and it's kind of a waiting game because you don't know is it going to fight, is it going to relinquish, is this? So yeah, it is a bit of a waiting game.
Speaking of like, what are all these guys going to do? It looks like Dubois now might just go straight in for the undisputed. That's the rumor. That's the talk. Do you think that's fair to Parker?
Do I think it's fair? Yes and no. Yes, because it was a voluntary, and he wasn't mandatory. It was like, here's an opportunity. He still got paid for the fight. He had an easy fight, easy win. He gets to keep going. So yeah, it is in quote fair. But I would probably, if I was Parker, I'd be upset. But at the same time, as a champion, you kind of, unless you're mandated, you kind of get to choose what you want to do.
How do you see undisputed going between Usyk and Dubois? Obviously, we've seen them fight once before. There's some controversy there. Some people think that Dubois is a changed man now. What's your take on it?
You know what it is? Like, if not for what I've seen over the last few years, I would go with Dan. But every single time that I've said, there's no way that Usyk can do it again. He beat AJ the first time, there's no way he does it again. Okay, he beat Fury the first, there's no way that... But he keeps on doing it every time, so unless maybe Father Time catches up with him, I think he should be obviously a strong favourite to beat Dan, because you've seen that he's able to avoid hard punches and kind of keep working. But this new version of Dan can really go and get it.
You mentioned Anthony Joshua, who was ringside last night. Everybody's hanging on Eddie Hearn, trying to get him to tell us what is next. After what we saw last night, what do you think his best options are?
For AJ, I don't know what I would do. It's a tough one because obviously he might be frozen out of the world title opportunities, and he's been at world title level and in world title fights for a long time, so it'd be a bit tough. But maybe just like a interim fight, just to kind of keep active, stay in competitive fights, and then see what happens.
And with you, you said, okay, I get 2 good wins, and maybe I manage to line myself for voluntary, or something. You never know what happens in this world. Maybe something crops up. What 2 wins do you think would put you in the best position that might give you an opportunity like that?
Well, I think I have a fight lined up against Richard Rapport in England, so that's one of those. A good profile win, and then I'm WBC silver champion, and we just saw Agit Kabayel become interim champion. So he'll be number 1, I'll be number 2. So a win against someone like Kabayel skyrockets you into the world title shot. And
as you said, I mean, any fight and every fight kind of is a must-win. You want to be successful, all right? But the Riakporhe fight, is it added pressure knowing what could be, and the fact that that's not in Saudi, it's not on the big stage yet, you want to get on this stage? Is it more than just a W you need, but 100%. A statement?
100%, yeah. I've been talking with my management and that about it. It is extra pressure, but I kind of see it as incentive. Like, it's extra incentive to go out there and put on a huge performance and really go get it, because otherwise you can labour to a 12 round. So it gives me something to be really sharp and really focused on. So 100%. It's life-changing opportunities on the other side. So we've got to do the job properly.
I talked to Frank. He loves bringing up Moses Atamu. Everybody is saying that there's so much potential for him, but as of yet, he hasn't faced anybody of record. What do you think is the potential for him? And when fighters like yourself hear about him talking about younger fighters with less experience than you, kind of putting them ahead of you, how does that feel?
That's 2 questions. I think the first one, I think he's got a lot of potential. I sparred him when he was 15, and I was preparing for a world title shot. So you can see from then he had a lot of talent, and I think he's been living up to it so far. Yes, he hasn't been in there with like a world-class fighter, but he's dealt with who he's meant to deal with as of yet. And I think, to be fair, it's like when Anthony Joshua was on the come up, and all, you do get a lot of fanfare, but you just have to stick to it. So for me right now, I don't really look at when anyone says. I'm probably one of the people as well that's, Moses is great. So, hopefully he goes on and manages to accomplish it.
Strategically wise, that's why I asked. I'm building on this question, right? These 2 wins that, if you take out, somebody that is getting all this fanfare and all this prospective potential, I would imagine a win like that might even be more impressive than a Kabayel, just because you're taking out the guy that everybody thinks one day will be the world beater. Do you think like that strategically? What names to take down?
No, I think, obviously, when you really get into it, obviously, as well, with the business side of boxing, it is about governing bodies, positioning, stuff like that. So he's highly ranked with maybe a different body. So if I was in that body, that's it. But with the body I have right now, it's the winner of Zhang and Kabayel was my laser focus. We got Kabayel as the winner, so he can enjoy his win. I need to go do my business in April, but that's probably my number 1 fight.
And that is the traditional path of boxing for the most of the time I've covered it. But with His Excellency and this Riyadh season, anything can happen, and whatever catches his eye, all these sanctioning bodies just do what they're told. So that's why I went down that road. And lastly, if you have the spotlight to yourself after the Riakporhe fight, right, and it goes the way you hope, what will you be saying to Turkey? What will you be putting in everybody's ear? Like, this is what I deserve. This is what I need.
It'll be Kabayel. I think it'll definitely be Kabayel. I think he's been here. He's an established name. He's had some amazing wins, and I've said I want to be a freeweight world champion. So the right way to get that is to beat the guy who's number one in the governing body, which I'm in. I was world champion WBC at Bridgerweight. It just seems like the right one. He's got great run of wins. He's on great record. He'll probably even be considered a favourite by everyone else. So that's the one I'll be looking for.
We'll be looking for you and can't wait to see how this all shakes out. I was there at the announcement press conference. Looks like it's going to be a hell of a card. I'll be there in Manchester. Radio Rahim with Lawrence Okolie.
Yeah.